Okay, why do we do it? Well, professional growth, want to improve, assume responsibility, performance. It's all professional development. Okay, steps. Identifying the topic. Okay, so that's what I wanted you to do there. Okay, was identify the problems. And so from the problems, the main topics were, what are the themes or the topics that go across? When you pick the topic, it should be useful, motivation, serious, large classes, right? So you can take a topic like large classes. We could all agree, related back to our countries, and each of us do something about class size, about motivation. This is one of the share the results. When you're identifying problems, remember you said some things I can't do anything about. Remember that part? I think I can write on this, right? When this topic is called the 4 common places. I like this idea because it simplifies these problems, okay? The 4 common places are teaching, learning, curriculum, and governance. You probably didn't learn it exactly this way in your teacher education program. So when we have problems, we can look at lack of supplies. Okay, lack of supplies. What common place does that fit into?
Governance.
Governance, right? Because the governance issue is about social, political, and economic. Exactly. And the reason I made it a cloud around the outside is because it influences all of these things indirectly. So usually when I work with people, I want them to identify the common places, and I try to steer them away from governance because usually it's a bigger problem that you can deal with. Governance. How about this one? Low level of student motivation. Learning.
Teaching.
Yes.
Don't know where she's coming from. Is it from the teacher or from the students?
And that's why these are connected, exactly, because they influence each other. Absolutely, correct.
Could it also be connected with curriculum?
Yes, exactly. It could be curriculum because the materials are boring.
Yeah.
It could be the teacher because the teacher is old-fashioned and non-innovative, right? It could be learning because the students are not motivated because they're poor, they came to school today, they didn't have breakfast, they're hungry, their family is not supportive. I mean, it's a lot of things. But so the point here is to pick out the one you want to deal with, okay? If it's a teaching issue, this is the one I say, action research, this is the one, okay? How will teaching influence motivation, right? Large classes, governance. Parents are not interested in the process of education.
Maybe curriculum?
Learning.
The community, I think it's governance.
Outside.
Are you going to change the parents?
No.
Students are overloaded. Curriculum. The curriculum is too big. Lack of support to make changes from the administration. Governance. So when you're thinking about solving these problems, this is one way to organize it. Do you remember mathematics when you had when you worked with fractions? Do you remember fractions?
Yeah.
Yes.
What happens when you have mixed fractions And what do you have to do?
No, you have to
Define
find the common
The common denominator,
Yeah.
right. So when things are really complex in education and you have all these crazy ideas, these are the 4 common denominators in a sense. Okay? So when you go back to your country and you go back to your school and you're sitting in the staff meeting, right, the faculty meeting, and somebody says, "Oh, the curriculum or the materials," and somebody's like, "Oh, those kids just don't understand," or the parents, you can help them say, you can sort them out, you can organize them, if you're working in a group, and say, well, which of these can we really deal with? Which ones do we want to work on? I always go to these 2 are my favorites, teaching for a classroom teacher. That's where I want to see things. So, discipline problems, okay? Teacher problem, right? Discipline, okay? Students are not interested. That's why you have discipline problems, by the way. These 2 are related. Teaching and learning, see? Some classes are crowded, they're hard to manage, okay? The hard to manage, I think, is teaching issue. Some classes are really big and crowded, lack of teaching materials. Parents, students don't keep their classroom tidy. It's a way of helping sort it out, okay? So sometimes when you're looking at the action research, right, and you want to know if it's directly related to the problem, you can use this to sort it out. Let's see if we can get to what kind of data you can use, data sources, okay? All right, first of all, observation, okay? If you're doing action research, if you want to become a better teacher, one of the best things you can do is invite your teachers to come into the classroom, right? So Roger, those people that don't want to listen to you, you say to them, come into my classroom, come see my class. So direct observations, invite them in, come see how I use music or whatever. Interviews and recorded conversations, okay? Oftentimes, we like to, especially in these large classes, we like to think that everybody in the class is kind of the same, It's a good idea to select some students and interview them. This is another data set. Just, you have some students that are not achieving. Get 2 or 3 of them and say, let's talk after class. Tell me what's going on here. And then some really good students, have them come and ask them, well, so what do you like about class? What's going well for you? And compare. So just short interviews. Student portfolios, I bet you do portfolios, right? Do you have the students put all their work in there? Yeah, good. Okay. Do you have the students evaluate their own portfolios? Do you ever do that? You could think about it. Before, so you have the portfolio with 10 pieces of work in it, right? You could say, and you have to look at all of that stuff, right? It's a lot of work, right? You could just say to the students, take one piece of paper, tell me what the best work is, the 2 best pieces of work, and tell me why they're your best. And then tell me what the 2 worst are and why they're your worst. They've already done half your evaluation for you. And
we face in Egypt, Tajikistan, and Morocco, we opted for the mismatch that exists between curriculum or textbooks used to teach English and the students' needs. Instead, we chose to opt for a survey. So if we have to do something about this using action research, then we're going to ask questions about the kinds of topics they are interested in, and then we'll ask them to make reflections by using certain kinds of charts, and there are different ways to elicit information about this, about the previous textbooks. So based on this, we'll be able to gather information about students' interests, likes and dislikes, and as a solution, as teachers trying to do something in class to change things, we will suggest activities that cater for students' interests and at the same time respect the curriculum standards.
Like description of this activity or the content of it, and of course the results. Without results, without feedback, there is everything. So objectives were just I shared with my colleagues that they really have some trouble with their teaching hours. So only 2 hours per week. I think everybody will agree that it's very, very